Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So today I want to talk about how I got laid off twice in 1 year and I was able to bounce back by buying 52 units of real estate shortly after getting laid off. So, I have a video talking about it that did pretty well. So this is kind of adding onto it. But I basically got laid off twice in 2021 as a pharmacist, and I moved from San Francisco at the time to Orange County for this hospital called Orange County Global Medical Center. And when I relocated there, I remember the first kind of red flag to me getting laid off was they delayed my start date by about 3 months. And I didn't think too much of it at the time because, I was already in the Bay Area still, wanted more time to move. And I had a job there. I had a place to live there. That was house hacking. So didn't really think too much about it. I was just like, okay, well, I can wait another 3 months, right? No big deal. Give me more time to pack, give me more time to spend time with family and friends that are in the Bay Area. So didn't really think too much about it, right? And this was during the heart of COVID. So this was like probably, I think I got offered like March of 2021 or 2020. And I think I was supposed to start in April of 2020, but I got like a last minute email saying from the director saying, hey, could you push your start date back to like July of 2020? And maybe they weren't doing well financially. So that's why they wanted to delay my start date. But, obviously, after I started the job, 7 months later, they laid me off. And, clearly they weren't doing well financially as a hospital. And, I remember I started the job and it was really nice. So like when I started this job, it felt like I had a change of scenery, which was good for me. And this was like kind of like the period after my mom passed in like end of 2019. So, obviously in, 2019, I was dealing with health issues with my mom. And then after she passed, it gave me some time to like breathe. So I just said, you know what, I think a change of scenery would be nice for me. And didn't have anything holding me back. I mean, my dad's still in the Bay Area. Parents were divorced. But, my mom wasn't there anymore. So I kind of felt like in a weird way, like one less thing holding me back from moving. Probably still would have moved to SoCal, even if my mom was, alive to this day, because I do visit, the Bay Area. I would say at least once a quarter, depending. And obviously when I got laid off, I was able to visit more often, right? But remember starting the job, it was nice, right? It was chill. It was relaxed. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Because it was like way more like less stressful than my last job, where I was director or regional director of a hospital that was bankrupt. So I was like, okay, this is nice. I was taking it easy. I just was enjoying. And then that's when I started dating my current fiance at the time. So it was nice. Like, after work, we go on dates, grab food, hang out, explore Orange County, which is really nice. So I was like, okay, great. This is amazing. I thought my life was like headed in the right direction, after getting hit with, my mom's passing. And I remember I started in July of 2020. I remember towards the winter time. So this is like the holidays. So I think November, December, they started making us flex 1 day a week. And at the time, I didn't think too much about it, but like I had to flex 1 day, the director had to flex 1 day, and then the other manager at the other hospital had to flex 1 day. So collectively, that's 3 days a week, which is almost a part-time employee being flexed off. So they're trying to get us to burn our PTO. And I was just like, okay, that's not bad. Like I kind of liked only working 4 days, and usually I'd take a Monday or Friday off and I'd rotate, right? But it gave me a nice 3 day weekend. Or if my girlfriend was off on like a Wednesday, I'd take a Wednesday off and then we just can do something together. So I thought it was actually nice for that. And like I said, didn't think too much about it. And then this was during COVID, obviously. And, I think all hospitals started losing more money because, people, elective surgeries were canceled and, people weren't going to the ER for like very minor stuff, right? Like, if you had something that you used to go to the ER for, maybe you kind of like cut yourself, and it's not too bad, then usually you go to the ED or urgent care, but now people weren't going as much. So I think overall, ER visits went down, elective surgeries were canceled, and those are the main money makers for the hospital. So at that point, they started to, I noticed like bills were being like not paid on time. Like we had credit holds for like our drug wholesaler, which was really surprising for me. I was like, wait a second. And I remember someone jokingly said, oh yeah, like when there's credit holds, that's when layoffs happen. You know, just like, huh. Didn't think too much about it, right? So all these red flags. And you know, as I said in my last video, I remember going to work one day, and then my director like was trying to like small talk with me, but he kind of felt a little bit awkward. Like he was talking to me like, oh hey, thanks for like doing this report for me. You know, I'll take a look at it and give you some feedback. And then his voice cracked at the end, and I was just like, huh, that's interesting, because he knew that he was gonna lay me off like in like an hour or like 15 minutes after that conversation, and he knew that he wouldn't have anyone to talk to about it, right? Because I'm not there anymore. So I remember I was sitting there eating my breakfast. I remember I was eating like some fruit and some yogurt, and mid like yogurt, I remember I getting a call from HR, and I was just like, HR manager was just like, hey, Steven, I'm here with Matt. Can you come here? And immediately I was like, oh shit, like that's not good, right? What's happening here? And you know, I didn't really think much about the layoff at the time. So I remember like texting my girlfriend, like, oh shit, like they're calling me to HR, my boss is there, I don't have a good feeling about this. Sent that message, and then I remember I was walking over to HR, and on the way there I saw like other nursing directors, and the moment they saw me walking up towards HR, they like paused, stopped talking, looked at me real quick, then looked away, because they probably knew that I was getting laid off, right? Or anyone going there was getting laid off. And they knew who I was as the pharmacy manager. So I walked in there. They sit me down in the waiting area, you know, super nervous, sweaty. And then I get called into the HR's office. I see my director there. And then basically the HR manager was talking the whole time. My boss, I remember just sitting in the corner looking kind of nervous. And basically they just handed me this like white envelope, which had my final paycheck, had, you know, how to get health insurance. And you know, basically had me sign some paperwork that I was laid off, right? And then I remember the last video, I was like, well, they asked me how do I feel about that, and I was just like, well, that's an awkward question to ask, right? But you know, I remember answering it very professionally, and just said, well, you know, a business decision was made, and that's it. So I remember I got laid off, and I remember like I was shocked. Like they asked me if I wanted to go grab the rest of my stuff. Didn't have much stuff there anyways, but I remember I was like in too much shock, and it's embarrassing to have to like go back and like grab your shit and then say goodbye to everybody. So I was just like, you know what, you know, it's cool. You just let me take a breather, and then I'll just go home, and then you can just mail me my stuff, whatever, right? Didn't have that much anyways. And I remember I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of the hospital, and I was just like, oh fuck, like I was too afraid to call my dad, because he told me not to move to SoCal, right? And I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to tell him. He's going to rub it in my face that he was right. So I was like, oh shit, well, I can't tell my dad. I can't tell my mom because she passed away. And then I called my girlfriend, but I think she was at work. She didn't pick up. Then I called one of my good friends, Ryan, and then like he picked up and like just talked to him about it. And then my fiance called. And then I remember like, after that, I was just like, God damn, what am I going to do? Because like, you know, it's hard. I mean, I'm in pharmacy management, so it's a little bit harder to find a job, but I was just like, well, you know, at this point, let me look at management jobs first. If there's no management jobs, then I will look at regular pharmacist jobs just to see what the options are, right? So I remember I took like the first week off, and I remember I was really shook. My identity felt very shattered because, you know, I poured myself into pharmacy, right? Like I have a doctorate level degree. I actually have a master's degree on top of that. I have a bunch of certifications. I moved up to director of pharmacy at the age of 27, regional director of pharmacy at the age of 29. So I hit like, you know, the peak of my career. And then to me, becoming a pharmacy manager is actually a step down, but I just wanted that change of pace, you know, for like personal lifestyle reasons. And I ended up getting laid off, and I was just like, how does this make sense, right? And, you know, when you get laid off, it's not based on meritocracy. It's a lot of office politics involved, right? Like, does the boss like you? Are you the new guy? Are you paid more? It's easier to lay off the person who gets paid more and who's newer, right? Obviously, compared to someone who gets paid less and's been there, you know, a lot longer. So, you know, a lot of office politics. So I was just like, well, try not to take it too personally, but it's hard, right? Because I was like, geez, like I moved here and then I got laid off. So I remember that first week, I was like kind of in a depressed state. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take like a week off. And I remember I was like binging Netflix. I'm not sure if I was like, no, it wasn't Squid Games, but like I was binging something on Netflix. And then, I just basically started applying for jobs on Indeed. And I remember like looking, I was like, God damn, there's not many jobs here. So I just started like looking in Southern California, pharmacy manager, director on Indeed, and whatever I saw, I just would apply. And a lot of times, especially in Southern California, like the hiring, it's not what you know to, I mean, I think there's a lot of job industries, even more so for pharmacy. I mean, pharmacy is a very small world, and most of the pharmacists, pharmacy directors, managers, they're from USC, right? Because it's Southern California. And I went to UOP, which is in Stockton, so didn't really have much of a base. And a lot of times people just hire who they know and like, right? Doesn't mean that they're the best for the job. So I remember, I'd apply for jobs, and like I'd get the interview, and then I'd find out like who gets hired, and I was like, wait, like the person who got hired has like literally no experience as a pharmacy director, and I've been a director and regional director for like maybe 3-4 years at that point. So I was like, how does that make sense, right? But obviously they probably know somebody, and they have the connections, right? That's why I said it's who you know, not what you know. So I was like, man, it's like so discouraging, right? Because I didn't know anybody in Southern California, because I knew all my contacts were in NorCal. So I just said, okay, well, let me apply for maybe some interim jobs, or maybe I'm doing a 3 to 6 month project, anywhere, and then they'll pay for my travel to like fly there. So, I was applying for that. So, was able to finally land a job at Long Beach, but it was a COVID surge hospital. And, once again, I knew it was temporary, and then that hospital ended up closing after COVID kind of was under control. So essentially got laid off, I got laid off early 2021 and then the end of 2021. So after that, when the second time coming in for the Long Beach job, I kind of knew it was going to be temporary, but at least like it allowed me to stay at my current apartment, didn't have to move. And at that point, that's when I really deep dived into real estate. So it was funny. Like I think at the time I was in SoCal, I had, I think 3 or 4 single family homes already, but I still identified really much as a pharmacist. And I think early 2021, like maybe a month before I get laid off, I did join a real estate mentorship program specifically on how to buy like apartment complexes, like small multifamily, like 5 to 50 units. And I remember when I got laid off in February, I just was like starting to learn about, how to underwrite multifamily, how to do my direct mailing campaign, how to talk to sellers, creative financing. So I was like going down that progress. And then when I got laid off, like it just fueled me to like, hey, like I want to get out of this rat race. Like I've done everything right in pharmacy and I got laid off. So I'm like, that's very discouraging. Like, if you do everything right and then all of a sudden you just get chopped off, right? Like it's not, my identity was shattered, and like it was very discouraging. I'm like, well, screw that. Like screw W2. Like I really was at this point motivated to go on the death march to financial independence, early retirement. So I remember I just like double down on it. I started sending my mailers like earlier. I watched all the videos as fast as I could, and I wanted to take action, right? And I was still looking for jobs too, but I remember started sending my mailers in March, and then in April, and then I think I ended up getting my Long Beach job in April. So it wasn't too long, but when I started this job, I kind of knew like, hey, like don't kill yourself at the job. Like just, hey, spend some time, focus on your real estate, and then just do your job, right? Like you don't have to be an A player at your job, like which I was striving to be. Just maybe be a B player and then spend the rest of your energy to like buy real estate or learn real estate. So I remember I was sending a bunch of mailers, and then I would talk to the owners once they call back, underwrite it, talk to lenders, write offers, get rejected, write offers, get rejected, talk to sellers, right? So this is what really motivated me. And I remember every month I would send out 300 letters, and from there, about maybe 10 people will respond, and then of which maybe 1 might be serious, but I always made it a conscious effort to like write 2 offers. I'd always write an offer that made sense for me based on the numbers, right? So I have a video talking about trust your numbers, but always trust the numbers, right? That makes sense for you. It might piss off the seller, but hey, just write it in a way that makes sense for you. And for me, it's 25% down. At the time, interest rates were like 4%. Amortization was maybe 25 to 30 years. And I wanted to do 25% down because I wanted to leverage, right, and scale. And I would make a traditional finance offer and then a creative finance offer, which is always higher, and then explain the benefits of both, right? So I remember eventually I got my first one under contract in, I think, June of 2021. So this is like 2 months after I started my new job, and I was just like, hell yeah, right? And then I was happy, I was ecstatic. That's my 26 unit, and then I closed in September. And I still had, I think at the time, also, like I think it was like June as well, I did a huge cash out refinance on my single family home portfolio to pull out like over $1 million worth of equity. And now because of that, those properties are cash flow negative. But because I had a W-2 job, it was easier to pull out a bunch of money and sustain that negative cash flow real estate, right? In retrospect, it's not ideal to have cash flow negative real estate, but now my apartments make enough money that they cover that negative cash flow, right? So now I'm just like, I got the job, did a huge cash out refinance, bought that 26 unit. I said, I want more. So I did a bunch of other things. Like I started my own independent pharmacy, which I ended up selling for a loss. I did an Amazon dropshipping store for $30,000 through Ryan Panetta. Ended up losing all of the $30,000 I put in there. So I started getting that entrepreneurial bug and itch, right? And then I stumbled across my mobile home park on LoopNet and ended up buying that in November of 2021 and ended up selling that 2 years later for a $100,000 loss, right? I have a video talking about that. And then in May of 2022, that's when I bought my 20 unit apartment complex in Enid, Oklahoma, which I still own today, right? And I remember for that one, he actually sent a letter back to me giving his name and number, and I called him, and like was super easy to work with. Like both these owners were like super easy to work with, very responsive, very transparent, willing to give me the financials, gave me the rent roll, gave me the P&L. They responded fast. If I had questions, they'd answer it to the best of their ability. Like they would connect me with their property manager. They just would tell me the ins and outs of the property, and were like very flexible and reasonable to work with, right? So like that's what I mean by you have to find motivated sellers. So I'll eventually close on that apartment. So literally in a span of like 8 months. So I got laid off in February of 2021. I got my first 26 unit apartment complex I closed in September of 2021. I got my 200 lot mobile home park, which had about maybe 40 units at the time, ish, 40-ish units at the time in November of 2021. I got my next job in April. So it goes laid off in February, next job in April, huge cash out in June, closed on my first apartment in September, mobile home park closed in November. I think end of that year, I got laid off from my other job, like I think end of December. And then in May of that year, I basically got my 20 unit apartment complex. So in these gaps, I was just basically buying a lot of real estate. I think ended up buying 80 units in 8 months, which is what it was, right? And I ended up selling my mobile home park, so my portfolio today is 52 units. But it was very like eye-opening to me because I went extreme where I freaking hated my W-2 job because I'm like, God damn it, I poured my ass, got this doctorate degree, master's degree, did everything right, and I get laid off. So I hatred towards it for good reason, and my identity was shattered. So my identity pivoted over to being financial independence, real estate, retire early, fuck the W-2. That was kind of my mindset. Now I'm more even keel, right? Like I appreciate my W-2 now, and then I own real estate, so I can do both as I'm building up my next businesses of YouTube, coaching, mentorship, and potentially speaking. I don't know, right? So I remember doing all that, and I was just like, wow, like it was quite a journey. Like, I think people say things happen for a reason, and I think in a weird way, maybe my skill set was not being fully utilized as being a pharmacist manager. Like I said, I've been at the peak position of a regional pharmacy director at age 29, and that's only like I graduated at 23. So in 6 years, I basically hit the peak, and I think this was a weird way. I'm not really religious, but like of a higher power or God saying, hey, there's a better opportunity for you out there. So basically they I got laid off because, one door closes, another door opens, right? And I think I needed that period to like really dive into real estate, deep dive into it. Like all the boats were burned, and the only choice was to buy a bunch of real estate, right? And during that time, I went through a lot of growth. I went through a lot of pain, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, right? And it helped shape me who I am today, where I have a lot of clarity now, like which real estate to buy, right? And I have a lot of clarity on my W-2, like now for W-2, I know I'm replaceable, right? And when any hospital times are tough, I know I'm probably the one likely to get chopped because I'm the new guy, even at my current job, and I'm high paid. So when that time comes, like I know the drill, right? I have to apply again or do temporary jobs, or if I'm financially at that position, just retire altogether, right? So, because I know my time is limited, it makes me kind of cherish every day a little bit more, right? In terms of the W-2 job. So, I would say it gave me great perspective, and, I don't wish it upon anybody, but if you get laid off, it's a lot of growth, and like, look around, like there's something else that maybe you should be doing. And there's a reason why they're testing you, because they know that you can handle it, and they know that you can get through it, right? So it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, is what I believe. So maybe I needed to get laid off twice to really become that real estate investor I wanted to be, to own like 52 units of real estate, to own apartments, and to be able to juggle everything and go through a period where like I was like semi-retired, right? Where I wasn't like traveling and all that because of COVID, but like I got to experience what it's like to not get consistent income, right? So it was nice, eye-opening. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully you found value from this video. Pretty much talked about how I got laid off twice in 1 year, and then I scaled to 80 units, 90 units of real estate at one point, ended up selling my mobile home parks, and now I'm at 52. So if you're getting laid off, I know a lot of layoffs are happening in tech, where I'm from, the Bay Area, and like I said, just look around, because another door is opening for you when you get laid off. So don't feel discouraged, and just take it as an opportunity for growth and development. So anyways, hopefully you found value from this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your questions. If you want to buy a multifamily real estate, some guidance and some mentorship, check out the mentorship program down below. Otherwise, hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.